The Thaw. Could she be the one? I wondered as I paced back and forth in the dimly lit apartment, my heart racing. We had been talking online for what felt like an eternity, and now the moment of truth was just a few hours away. "Send me a pic, please?" Her message popped up on the screen, the eager anticipation in her tone unmistakable. I had been waiting for this moment too. I quickly grabbed my phone, snapped a selfie in the mirror and hit send. She was obsessed with my photos, asking for one every time we talked. The thought of her eager eyes on my image filled me with a strange mix of excitement and dread. Her response was instant, the screen lighting up with excitement. "I can't wait to see you in person," she exclaimed. But what if she didn't like what she saw? I had been so caught up in our digital romance that I had forgotten the reality of face-to-face interactions. I hoped my charming personality would be enough to win her over if my looks failed to live up to her expectations. Deciding to distract myself, I threw on a jacket and stepped out into the chilly evening air. The city of Berlin was alive with the sound of laughter and distant music, a stark contrast to my nervous solitude. As I wandered the streets, my mind raced with thoughts of our upcoming meeting. Would the connection be the same? Would she feel the same way about me as she did through the screen? Summary: 1. The narrator is nervously awaiting the arrival of their online crush, Sasha. After 4 months of intense digital communication, they send a photo and receive an enthusiastic response. To distract themselves, they go for a cold evening walk in Berlin, reflecting on the potential differences between their online and in-person interactions. The cold began to bite, so I decided to head to the nearest cafe. The warmth inside washed over me as I ordered a hot chocolate, hoping it would calm my nerves. The barista, a young man with a mischievous smile, gave me a knowing look. "First date jitters?" I chuckled nervously. "Something like that," I replied, taking a sip of the sweet drink. "It's going to be fine," he assured me, his German accent soothing. "Just be yourself." I nodded, taking his words to heart as I stepped back out into the crisp night. The city was beautiful under the streetlights, the snow-covered cobblestone streets reflecting the glow. As I approached the apartment, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. "I'm almost back," I messaged her, trying to ignore the knots in my stomach. "Don't worry, I'll be safe," I added, hoping to reassure her as much as myself. Her reply was quick. "Good. I don't want anything to ruin this night." And with that, I climbed the stairs, fumbled with the keys, and opened the door to the apartment that would soon host the most important meeting of my life. Her name was Natasha, a gorgeous girl from the heart of St. Petersburg. We'd been exchanging messages and calls for months, sharing our deepest secrets and dreams. Her dark hair and piercing blue eyes had haunted my thoughts, and now the anticipation of seeing her in person was almost too much to bear. "Hey babe," she greeted me, her English accent a sweet music to my ears. She was even more stunning in real life, dressed in a simple yet elegant black dress that hugged her curves perfectly. My nervousness evaporated the moment our eyes met. We both knew this was it. Our online personas had collided with reality, and we had to decide if this was truly meant to be. "You look amazing," I managed to croak out, feeling like a teenager again, awkward and unsure. Natasha's smile was genuine. "You're not so bad yourself," she replied, her cheeks flushing pink. We decided to cook dinner together, a simple meal of pasta and sauce, but the act of preparing it felt like a dance, our movements in sync despite the tight kitchen space. We talked and laughed, the air between us thick with the promise of what the night would bring. As we sat down to eat, the tension grew palpable. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, it was clear that neither of us wanted to look away. The chemistry we had online was undeniable in the flesh, and we both knew that the evening was going to end with us tangled in the sheets. We talked about everything and nothing at all, the conversation flowing as easily as the wine we sipped. And then, as if on cue, Natasha reached out and took my hand, her touch sending an electric current through my body. "I've been waiting for this," she murmured, her voice low and seductive. "Me too," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. The rest of the night was a blur of passion and exploration. We discovered each other's bodies, the taste of our kisses lingering on our lips. Every touch, every caress was like a symphony, our hearts beating in perfect harmony. The snow outside had turned to a gentle drizzle, but inside, our fire was anything but muted. We made love like it was our first time, and every moment felt like it was. Our bodies moved together in a dance that was both new and familiar, our souls intertwined as one. When the sun finally began to rise, we lay in each other's arms, sweat-drenched and exhausted. We had crossed the threshold from digital lovers to reality, and it was everything we had hoped for. "I'm so glad you're here," Natasha whispered, her breath warm against my neck. "I'm never leaving," I replied, and meant it with all my heart. In the days that followed, we explored the frozen city together, holding hands and sharing stories. The cold was forgotten as we strolled through the snow, our hearts warming with every step. St. Petersburg had never looked more beautiful than through Natasha's eyes. The Russian babushka's warning remained a distant memory, a humorous anecdote we shared with each other. Our world was now a bubble of love and lust, insulated from the harshness of reality. As we watched the sun rise over the Neva River, the ice slowly began to melt, mirroring the thawing of my heart. With Natasha by my side, everything felt right. Our love story had just begun, and the pages of our book were already filled with tales of adventure and passion. Who knew what lay ahead, but for now we were content to live in the moment, our hearts beating as one in the city that had brought us together. We decided to spend the next day exploring the grandeur of St. Petersburg. As we wandered through the snow-covered streets, we talked about our pasts and our futures, sharing the kind of intimate details that could only be revealed in person. Each landmark we visited was a testament to the city's rich history, but it was the way Natasha looked at me that made every moment feel like we were discovering something new and precious. "Look, it's the Hermitage Museum," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's beautiful," I said, but my gaze remained on her, not the monumental building. Natasha, now holding my hand tightly, led me through the grand archway into the courtyard. The sculptures and paintings within the museum walls held secrets that had been whispered through the ages, and as we walked among them, I couldn't help but feel like we were a part of something much larger than ourselves. In the hallowed halls of art and culture, we found a quiet corner, away from the prying eyes of tourists. She leaned in, and our first kiss in the real world was soft and lingering, a promise of what was to come. The days turned into a whirlwind of romance. We visited the Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood, the vibrant colors of the onion dome standing tall against the gray sky, and the Peter and Paul Fortress, where the whispers of the city's tumultuous past seemed to echo in our ears. We laughed, we talked, and we grew closer with every shared experience. As night fell on our third day together, we found ourselves in a cozy little restaurant, the warmth of the candles flickering on the walls a stark contrast to the cold outside. Over a meal of traditional Russian dishes, Natasha took a deep breath and spoke words that made my heart race. "I've been thinking," she began, her eyes searching mine. "What if we didn't have to say goodbye?" The proposal was sudden, but it felt as if it had been written in the stars. We had found something rare and beautiful, a connection that spanned continents. The idea of returning to our separate lives was unbearable. "What are you saying?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I'm saying," she replied, her voice steady and sure, "that maybe we could make this work, live together, here in St. Petersburg." The thought was both thrilling and terrifying, but as I looked into Natasha's eyes, I knew that there was nowhere else I would rather be than by her side. "Yes," I said, my voice filled with conviction. "Let's do it." And so our adventure grew. The apartment that had once been a temporary shelter became our love nest, and St. Petersburg became our playground. We danced through the snowy nights, our laughter echoing through the quiet streets. We watched the ice break on the river, symbolizing the walls we had shattered to find each other. Each day brought new challenges and discoveries. Learning to live together in a foreign country was not without its hurdles, but with Natasha, every step felt like a victory. Her gentle guidance helped me navigate the complexities of Russian culture, and in return, I shared my own world with her. As the months passed, we grew into a couple that was more than just a whirlwind romance. We faced the mundane and the extraordinary together, each moment building upon the last to create a foundation that was unshakable. And as the snow finally melted away, revealing the true colors of the city, our love blossomed like the first spring flowers. We knew that our story was just beginning, and we couldn't wait to see where it would take us next. The name Natasha remained etched in my heart, but it was time to introduce her to the world as Anastasia, a name that reflected the grandeur of the city we had made our home. And I, once a solitary traveler named Alex, was now her devoted partner, ready to conquer any challenge that lay ahead. As Anastasia and I grew more comfortable with each other's quirks and habits, the city of St. Petersburg became less of a novelty and more of a shared playground. We found our favorite spots, the places where our love felt the most alive, and we returned to them often, creating a map of our hearts in the concrete jungle. One evening, as we sat on the banks of the Neva River, watching the boats drift lazily by, Anastasia took a deep breath and turned to me. "Alex, I have something important to tell you," she said, her voice quivering with excitement. I looked at her, her beauty illuminated by the soft glow of the street lamps, and felt my heart skip a beat. Whatever it was, I knew it would change us forever. "I'm pregnant," she whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. The news hit me like a sledgehammer, a mix of shock, joy, and fear swirling in my chest. "Are you sure?" I managed to ask, my voice barely audible. Anastasia nodded, her hand finding its way to her stomach, a gesture that was already becoming familiar. "Yes, I'm sure. We're going to have a baby." The world around us grew silent, the only sound the steady beat of our hearts. The river, the city, the very air itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for my response. "This is incredible," I murmured, my arms wrapping around her tightly. "We're going to be parents." The reality of our situation washed over us, bringing with it a new set of challenges. But as we sat there watching the water flow beneath us, we knew that together, we could face anything the world threw our way. Life in St. Petersburg grew more vibrant with every day that passed. Anastasia's belly grew rounder, and our apartment filled with the whispers of a new life. We painted the nursery, picked out names, and felt our hearts expand with every little kick. The Russian winter had been harsh, but the warmth of our love had seen us through. And now, as spring approached, bringing with it the promise of new beginnings, we knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together. The days grew longer, and the nights grew warmer, our love story weaving itself into the very fabric of the city. We were no longer two lost souls finding each other in a sea of pixels and screens, but a family, ready to embrace the world. As we watched the sun set over the gleaming domes of the churches, we knew that our tale was far from over. It was merely the end of a chapter, with so many more to come. Our love, born in the frozen embrace of a foreign land, had thawed the ice around our hearts and set us on a path that would lead to a lifetime of shared moments. And so, our journey as Alex and Anastasia, the American and the Russian, the teacher and the student, the lovers and soon-to-be parents, continued. The pages of our story were still being written, and we couldn't wait to see where the next chapter would take us. Our days grew more intertwined with every shared laugh, every quiet moment of understanding, every disagreement followed by passionate reconciliation. Anastasia's belly grew, a physical testament to the love that had brought us together and the life that was growing within her. As the snow of winter melted away, the city of St. Petersburg revealed its true colors. The grandeur of the pastels and gold of the buildings was a stark contrast to the starkness of the winter months, and the parks bloomed with life. We stumbled upon a hidden gem one day, a small secluded garden that felt like a secret between us. The scent of blooming lilacs filled the air as we sat on a bench, her hand resting gently on her stomach. "It's a boy," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "I just know it." "Or a girl," I offered, smiling at her excitement. "Either way, they'll be beautiful, just like their mother." Her cheeks flushed pink, and she leaned into me, her eyes sparkling. "Thank you for being here, Alex. Thank you for choosing me." "There was never a choice to be made," I replied, kissing the top of her head. "You're my home now." And so we watched the seasons change together, our love growing stronger with each passing day. The baby grew, and so did the challenges of navigating a new life in a foreign country. But with Anastasia by my side, I knew that any obstacle was surmountable. We faced the trials of pregnancy, the culture shock of raising a child in a place so different from my own upbringing, and the occasional misunderstanding that comes with any relationship. But through it all, we remained unshaken, our bond a beacon of warmth in the sometimes harsh reality of our new life. As the leaves began to turn, we decided on a name that was a blend of our worlds. Katya, a Russian name that rolled off the tongue like a sweet melody, yet simple enough to be understood by my English-speaking friends and family. The birth of our daughter was a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. Her tiny cries filled the hospital room, and as I held her in my arms, I knew that every sacrifice, every leap of faith had been worth it. In the months that followed, we watched as Katya grew, her eyes a mirror to the world around her. She saw the beauty in the snowfall and the wonder in the bustling streets of St. Petersburg. And as she grew, so did our love for each other, now a tangible force that bound us together. We had become more than just lovers, we were now a family. Anastasia, now known as Sasha, had bloomed into motherhood with an ease that amazed me. Her patience and care were boundless, and she taught me so much about what it meant to truly love another human being. Our days were filled with the mundane yet magical moments of raising a child. I took on the role of provider, diving into the complexities of the Russian job market, while Sasha navigated the intricacies of raising a bilingual baby. We faced each challenge together, our partnership stronger than ever. And through it all, the city remained a backdrop to our love story. We discovered new corners of St. Petersburg together, each one a testament to the ever-changing tapestry of our lives. The cold had given way to a warmth that was not just seasonal but everlasting. As summer approached, the city came alive with festivals and celebrations. We danced through the white nights, when the sun barely dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of pink and purple. Katya, now a toddler, giggled as the lights from the fireworks reflected in her eyes. Our little family had found its rhythm in the pulse of the city, and each day was a new adventure. We stumbled upon a quaint little bookstore, its shelves laden with Russian classics and English translations. It became our sanctuary, a place where we could escape into the stories that had brought us together. Sasha and I would read to Katya in both English and Russian, our voices intertwining as we taught her the languages of our hearts. And as she grew, we watched her eyes light up with the same passion for learning that had brought us together. Life in St. Petersburg was not without its trials. The bureaucracy was a labyrinth, and the cultural differences sometimes led to frustration. But we faced each challenge as a team, our love a compass that guided us through the storms. Our friends grew, a mix of locals and expats who had also found themselves drawn to this enigmatic city. We shared our stories and our struggles, creating a network of support that made the cold nights feel less lonely. And then one day, as we watched the swans glide across the pond in the summer gardens, Sasha turned to me with a mischievous smile. "Alex, my love," she said, her eyes dancing with excitement. "I have an idea." Her proposal was unexpected, Yet it felt like the most natural progression of our story. She wanted to start a school, a place where children could learn English while also discovering the magic of Russian literature and culture. It was a chance to share our love for both languages, to build a bridge between our two worlds. The thought was daunting, but the passion in Sasha's voice was contagious. And so we embarked on our latest adventure, hand in hand, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The school became our new focus, a labor of love that consumed our nights and weekends. We painted the walls, bought books, and crafted lesson plans, our excitement growing with every step. And as we worked, we watched Katia playing in the corner, her imagination already running wild. When the doors to our little school finally opened, the joy was indescribable. The children's laughter filled the classrooms, and their eager faces reminded us of the reason we had started this journey. Through the school, we not only shared our love for languages but also built a community. Parents became friends, and our apartment grew too small for the gatherings that followed every school event. It was a testament to the power of connection, of finding home in the most unexpected of places. As Katia grew, she became a little ambassador of our love, a symbol of the beauty that could arise from the collision of two different worlds. And with every passing year, our roots grew deeper into the city we had made our home. The story of Alex and Sasha was no longer just a tale of an online romance turned real. It was the story of a family born from the frozen embrace of a Russian winter, a testament to the warmth that love can bring even to the coldest of places. And as we sat in the school we had built together, watching our child play with her newfound friends, I realized that our story had a name. It was the Thaw, a reflection of how love had melted the ice that had once surrounded our hearts and transformed a cold, unfamiliar city into a place of warmth and belonging. The Thaw grew beyond just our little family and the walls of our school. It was the way we approached every new challenge, every unfamiliar face, and every cultural barrier that St. Petersburg presented. With each passing season, our love for each other and for this city grew deeper, more intricate, and more profound.